KUAM News Headlines is presented by Calvo's Insurance, a legacy of trust, serving Micronesia since 1938. Matson and the Adahi Tano Program. Cars Plus, home of Guam's first and only lifetime limited powertrain warranty. McDonald's of Guam, I'm loving it. And King's Restaurants, always open, always local, and serving up favorites for over 40 years.
Ahead on primetime, with an ongoing surge in COVID cases, Guam's only public hospital is in need of more capacity. Plus, Tyler Matson has the latest on mitigation efforts at the Department of Youth Affairs as 4 officers test positive for COVID. And feeling like a number and not a name, one man with COVID and in isolation expresses frustration with public health.
Half day and good evening. I'm Adriana Cotero. We begin with the latest COVID results from the Joint Information Center. As of Thursday evening, the numbers remain high as 88 tested positive out of 1,044 samples from various labs and clinics. There are currently 1,516 active cases, with over 2,400 people having recovered. Guam's current COVID case count is 4,056 people who have been infected with the coronavirus since March and 69 COVID-related deaths. More positives translates to more hospitalizations and the need for more capacity at the Guam Memorial Hospital.
As of Friday morning, the Guam Memorial Hospital had 65 patients hospitalized for the coronavirus. Of that number, 16 were receiving ICU level of care. 6 of those patients are on ventilators. Meanwhile, a total of 6 patients are at the COVID isolation facility at the SNU in Barragata Heights.
The numbers keep rising, and so really, it just really, makes us more. We need to be really more vigilant and just really be, exercising the precautionary measures as much as possible.
Hospital Administrator Lillian Posada says as the numbers continue to peak, they are continuing efforts to make room to treat COVID infections. Currently, there are 5 CARES units designated to treat COVID. According to the numbers combined, there are 66 beds for COVID patients. And as we reported, the COVID census as of this morning is 65.
We're looking to convert one of the regular medical surgical units, either the 3rd floor or the 4th floor. That's our surgical floor. That has about 38 beds that we're looking to convert to COVID, strictly COVID. And so, these are all ongoing discussions that, we're looking to see how we can best utilize and restructure our facility so we can continue to accommodate individuals who need to be in the hospital because of this COVID infection.
The need for capacity at GMH is evident as the non-COVID designated hospital, or GRMC, has been taking in virus-infected patients. The COVID census at GRMC as of Thursday's Joint Information Center report was 11 hospitalized there, with 3 in ICU and 1 on a ventilator. At Naval Hospital, there were 3 COVID patients hospitalized, with 1 in ICU. Posadas continues to plead with the community to heed all necessary safety protocols, such as wearing a mask, staying away from family members and friends outside your household, practicing social distancing, and stay safer at home.
This is our reality, is our numbers, and this infection is out there.
Reporting for Guam's News Network, I'm Sabrina Salas, Matson.
The Guam Economic Development Authorities finalized the SOPs for their healthcare system stabilization grant this week at their board meeting. Eligible clinics will be treated as Tier 1 clinics until further guidance is given on the criteria for Tier 2 clinics. Tier 1 is specified as brick-and-mortar clinics with providers governed by the Guam Board of Medical Examiners or Board of Allied Health Examiners. There is a total of $2 million in grant funding available for eligible clinics. Applications will go live Monday at 8 a.m. Those interested in applying can do so at investguam.com. Several Department of Youth Affairs employees are scheduled to be tested for the coronavirus this weekend, following almost a handful of officers who were infected with COVID this past week. As Tyler Matson reports, DYA management has plans in place should they need to call for help.
The Department of Youth Affairs has contingency in place in the event more officers or residents turn up positive for COVID-19. This past week, 4 DYA officers tested positive for infection and are now on leave. According to DYA Director Melanie Brennan, at least 8 additional officers will be tested on Saturday. Brennan adds at least 4 clients have been quarantined.
They would have had contact. The first positive would have had contact. However, he didn't exhibit symptoms until he was already on his 3.5 days off. And he did not go to the clinic until the Saturday, the day that he was to report. So in terms of infection or being infectious, we think that was okay. And so the kids, we've been monitoring the kids. And like I said, they're completely fine. They don't have any symptoms as of yet.
Brennan says the kids in quarantine range in ages 14 to 18 and according to advice from public health do not need to be tested at this time. Additionally, plans are already in place should she need assistance.
I've already spoken with the Department of Corrections. FEMA suggests that if a pandemic were to occur in a congregate facility, that you could expect like 40% of your staff to be out for at least 2 weeks, just depending on when they get symptoms. And so I'm working with Joe Carbolito. If we do need to ask for, or augment our staff, he is prepared to help us.
For now, all safety precautions remain in place, such as prohibition on face-to-face visits and frequent sanitization. According to Brennan, these are just some of the mitigation measures that have been in place since the start of the pandemic, to include reducing the population in the youth correction facility and DYA's cottage home.
The Department of Youth Affairs doesn't have a full-fledged infirmary like DOC. So early on, we knew that this could be catastrophic if transmission did occur at DYA. So what we did was we really worked with the current population. We worked with our stakeholders, the Guam Police Department, probation, and the court system, and even Child Protective Services to try and move kids out of the facility. And so initially in March, we had about 32 kids. We had 20 kids in the regular dormitory in the youth correctional facility and 12 kids in cottage home. Cottage homes today has only 3 kids. And the male unit, as I said, there's no females in the female unit. And the male unit has 11 in the general population and 4 in quarantine. So we were able to drill down on the number because we were so worried.
Reporting for Guam's News Network, I'm Tyler Matson.
Another employee has tested positive for COVID at the Port Authority of Guam. This brings the total at the port to 19 employees. The port's contact tracing team noted that no additional employees have been exposed. Port General Manager Roy Respicio was informed Thursday night that an employee who was identified as a close contact of a previous case had tested positive for COVID-19. However, the employee stayed home from work since the onset of symptoms, and as a result, there are no additional employees identified as potential close contacts with this latest case. Guam Housing and Urban Renewal Authority sees 2 more positive COVID cases after testing. On Wednesday, the testing was conducted in response to an employee testing positive last week. According to Director Ray Tapasna, the employees who tested positive are on home isolation. He believes that the positive cases may have contracted the virus from outside of work. Tapasna says GURA is continuing to follow all protocols and has been proactive in their efforts to mitigate further spread of the virus. Travelers from Guam will be allowed entry to Hawaii under the state's new pretrial testing program. Hawaii recently announced that it would reopen its tourism industry by allowing travelers who present a negative COVID test within 72 hours of arrival to bypass otherwise mandatory quarantine. Adelup announced that Governor Lou Leon Guerrero spoke today with Hawaii Governor David Ige, who agreed to accept Guam public health testing results. According to the governor's office, DPHSS Director Art San Augustine is working with Hawaii's public health department to ensure that Guam travelers who meet the proper test criteria are welcomed into the program. So far, 41 families who've suffered a COVID-related death have applied for the $10,000 bereavement pay authorized by the governor. Administrative Director Edward Byrne has an update.
We've paid 7 and yesterday approved a further 6. So, as far as applications are concerned, We're more than halfway through. And in the first week that we started paying out, we expect to catch up with these that we've received this week by the end of next week.
Burns says the initial budget was $750,000 from CARES Act funding, which expires in December. He says claims will continue to be paid for as long as the money is available. Feeling like a number and not a name, COVID positive Jonathan Bloss explains how his entire household has been on home isolation for over 20 days and has received only a couple check-in calls from public health.
Every time I hear the contact tracing people come on and say like, oh, we call you guys, we call people twice a day. We call you guys every day to check up on you. That is not true. It is very much a false statement.
Describing public health as unaccommodating and unreachable, Dededo resident Jonathan Bloss and his family of 4 are COVID positive patients who have been on home isolation since the start of the month. On October 3rd, Bloss received his COVID positive results. 6 days later, he was contacted by Department of Public Health.
We didn't know we were going to get it. So my household only had a limited supply of food. So we were calling public health because we needed to find out, like, what can we do? Like, we don't have enough, food to last us, for the whole, 10, 14-day quarantine.
Also calling for some guidance.
The first 2 days when I found out, I broke down and I started crying because I have underlying health issues. I thought this was it, I was going to die.
Bloss says once public health reached out, the agents told them should their mild symptoms change drastically, then go to Guam Memorial Hospital. Public health also informed the family if they provide cash, then an agent will go grocery shopping for them. However, Bloss says they did not have cash on them.
We were advised to ask, somebody outside of our home to pick up our groceries, drop it off in the front of our doorstep, and then, and pretty much that's how we were supposed to have it done. So luckily we had, friends and family here that we could reach out to.
And it wasn't until after a week in home isolation that Bloss says he received a call from DPHSS contact tracing team. However, he already took matters into his own hands.
She was like, well, we're going to reach out to your employer. I was like, well, I said, my employer knows that I tested positive. I said, I literally had to reach out to them because nobody did. Days later, people can be all infected in my work because of me.
It's been issue after issue, as Bloss explains now 20 days later, and one of his siblings have yet to be cleared from home isolation because public health has dropped the ball.
I know that the files are being thrown around because they lost, one of my other, somebody else in my household, their file got lost, and they're still under quarantine. You need to reach out or have a better system because I think their system is failing us.
Bloss expressed multiple inquiries he has for public health.
And so my question for everybody is, if public health and CDC is mandatory temperature checks, and that if you're over 100, when not since the whole 20 days that I've been positive, not once have I broken a fever, not once. So does that mean that the people in the public right now who are walking around can possibly be COVID-19 carriers and not have fevers?
KUAM has reached out to DPHSS Public Information Officer Janela Carrera for a response to Bloss's concerns with home isolation procedures. We have yet to receive a response. Working with the Guam Memorial Hospital and Public Health, Election Commission staff began training at the GMH today to prepare to assist voters affected by COVID. GEC Executive Director Maria Pangilinan.
The training will happen either Saturday or Monday, and then we will begin to service them as well, including the people in quarantine at the quarantine facilities and at home.
Meanwhile, today was the last day to register to vote, as well as the deadline for candidates to file their preliminary campaign finance reports. You can still vote, however, at the GEC up until October 30th at their office in Hagåtña. You are urged to make an appointment by calling 477-9791. For more information, go to the GEC website at gec.guam.gov. And stick around for more news here on Prime Time.
While we've all been through a lot over the years, typhoons, earthquakes, and now COVID-19,
we've been able to get through these together.
For more than 80 years,
Calvo's Insurance has been protecting your homes, your businesses,
and the health of your family.
We are here today and we'll be here tomorrow.
There are better days ahead. Tomorrow's a new day filled with hope and choices.
The possibilities of what we can achieve together are limitless.
Let's continue to work together to ensure a brighter tomorrow for all of us.
100% truck, 100% Jeep brand. The all-new Jeep Gladiator is the most capable off-road mid-size pickup truck crafted for adventure. Equipped with best-in-class towing capacity, legendary Jeep brand 4x4 capability, and backed by Guam's only lifetime powertrain warranty. Drive home in a brand new Jeep Gladiator today, starting as low as $283 per paycheck during Jeep Adventure Days. Call us at 477-7807 or visit our website at carsplusguam.com to get pre-approved today.
I'm Hope Benavente de los Reyes, and I'm voting for Joe.
I'm Ray Leonger. I'm voting for Joe.
My name is Michael Gofigan-Tapasnia, and I am voting for Joe.
I am Kathy Leon Guerrero, and I'm voting for Joe.
I am Rose Tapasnia Mesa, and I am voting for Joe.
I am Joanne Kennedy, and I'm voting for Joe.
I am Ernie Caceres. I am voting for Joe.
I'm Benjamin D. Mesa Jr. I'll be voting for Joe.
I am Ann Leon Guerrero. I am voting for Joe.
I'm Pete Johnson, and I'm voting for Joe. Whoa.
I'm Senator Joe Shimizu St. Augustine, and I approve this message.
Hafaday, I am Vince Munoz. Over the years, I have worked with and observed Robert Underwood fight for the ideals of helping people achieve their dreams for themselves and their children as congressman, community leader, and president of the university. Since my early years in college, Robert Underwood has and continues to inspire me and my peers to think beyond and bigger than ourselves. And what's even more touching is how he continues to inspire our younger generations, including my own daughter. I am standing firmly behind Robert Underwood. We need a delegate who will represent all our interests, not just a few. We need a delegate who will be with us, talk with us, and listen to us. Someone who we can trust with our children's future. In 2020, Robert Underwood is a trustworthy voice for our future. That's why I'm ready for Robert Underwood for Congress.
I'm Robert Underwood, and I approve this message.
KUAM News, winner of the 2020 Regional Edward R. Murrow Award for Excellence in Social Media.
Welcome back. The Trump administration has released over $5.7 million in FY 2021 Compact Impact funds provided through the U.S. Department of the Interior's Office of Insular Affairs for the GDOE School Leaseback Program. DOI Assistant Secretary Doug Domenech says this support is critical to GovGuam, especially as it continues to feel the impacts on its education system from migration allowed from under the compacts of the Free Association. It was in 2006, Iron Bridge Capital partnered with GovGuam build for new public schools, Okadu High School, Stumbo Middle School, Laguan and Attikal Elementary Schools. The schools are currently owned by the Guam Education Financing Foundation, an Iron Bridge affiliate that has agreed to maintain the schools for 20 years, after which ownership will revert to GDOE. The funds are part of the $30 million provided under U.S. public law and distributed across America, Samoa, Guam, the CNMI, and Hawaii. The pandemic-fueled collapse of the tourism industry doesn't mean the Visitors Bureau won't need any funding. GVB has already made substantial cuts to its own budget, but appeared today before the legislature to get approval to use the balance of its rainy day fund for ongoing expenses. Bureau Vice President Gary Perez says they're seeking funding support to coordinate efforts once the tide starts to turn around.
We are obviously very sensitive because the last part of the fiscal year show drops in arrivals. And so we're very sensitive to the fact that even though we have the authority to spend the balance of the funds for the fiscal year, we're mindful that some of these spending authorizations may not be supported by the Tourist Attraction Fund income in reality.
GVB also got approval for the refunding of bonds paid from the hotel occupancy tax, which will also provide it with some additional operational funds. With new measures in place to keep order, President Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden went head-to-head looking to sway undecided voters. Skylar Henry has the latest.
Tonight, a more measured approach from President Trump and Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden as the two men traded barbs over several hot-button issues, including the response to the coronavirus and allegations over controversial foreign interests. President Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden squared off for their final debate before Election Day. The president defended his handling of the pandemic.
We closed up the greatest economy in the world in order to fight this horrible disease that came from China. We have a vaccine that's coming. It's ready. It's going to be announced within weeks.
Biden outlined his plan for fighting COVID-19.
I'm going to shut down the virus, not the country. It's his ineptitude that caused the country to have to shut down in large part.
The candidates addressed the topic of interference in the election from overseas.
They will pay a price if I'm elected. They're interfering with American sovereignty.
Nobody tougher than me on Russia. Between the sanctions,
Biden responded to President Trump's claims about the international business dealings of Biden and his son Hunter.
My son has not made money in terms of this thing about, what are you talking about, China. I have not had the only guy made money from China is this guy.
your son said we have to give 10% to the big man. Joe, what's that all about?
Even before tonight's debate, about 47 million Americans have already voted, ahead of Election Day, which is just 12 days away.
You know who I am. You know who he is. You know his character. You know my character. You know our reputations for honor and telling the truth. I am anxious to have this race.
You know, Joe, I ran because of you. I ran because of Barack Obama, because you did a poor job. If I thought you did a good job, I would have never run.
They discussed the future of health care.
I'd like to terminate Obamacare, come up with a brand new, beautiful health care.
What I'm going to do is pass Obamacare with a public option.
Polls show there are far fewer undecided voters now than 2016, when President Trump was elected. With this debate wrapped up, the candidates will now focus on key battleground states as the campaigns hit their final stretches. Back to you.
A man wanted for questioning on numerous retail theft complaints has been found with drugs and arrested. A magistrate's complaint came down on Eric Lee Flores. He faces possession of a Schedule II controlled substance and fraudulent use of a license plate, both as third-degree felonies. Yesterday, officers received a report of a suspicious vehicle parked across a residence in Tamuning. Officers met with Flores, who was the driver, and with two women inside. Police discovered the vehicle's license plate belonged to another car, and the original license plate was confiscated. Officers found a small Ziploc bag along with suspected meth on the passenger seat and found an open pouch on the back seat containing a clear glass pipe with frosty white and brown residue. Documents state while walking into the precinct, Flores told officers, quote, "You found the ice and pipe in the car, right? It's mine. I'm not going to lie. Those two girls have nothing to do with anything. Anything you find illegal is mine," unquote. Be happy, be brave, be drug-free. The theme for this year's Red Ribbon campaign. A virtual proclamation signing was held today proclaiming October 2020 as Red Ribbon Month. Red Ribbon Month is a national event honoring Enrique Kiki Camarena, a Drug Enforcement Administration special agent who was killed in 1985 by drug traffickers. High school students across the nation launched Camarena clubs, vowing to lead drug-free lives.
Now, therefore, I, Joshua F. Tenorio, Segundo Magatlahin Guahan, Lieutenant Governor of Guam, on behalf of Lourdes A. Leon Guerrero, Magahagan Guahan, Governor of Guam, by the virtue of the authority vested in me by the Organic Act of Guam as amended, do hereby proclaim October 2020 as Red Ribbon Month.
The Red Ribbon campaign is the oldest and largest drug prevention campaign in the country and is an opportunity for residents of our island, most especially our youth, to demonstrate their commitment to a healthy, drug-free lifestyle. And we conclude our Awareness is Power series tonight with 17-year breast cancer survivor May Bloss. Joan Augencharfris has more.
Think Pink, Awareness is Power is brought to you by Island Cancer Center.
Back in 2003, an annual mammogram revealed a lump on the left breast of May Bloss, who was 47 at the time. Because her family had already planned a vacation out to Washington, she decided to do her surgery there.
I went to Swedish Medical Center. My sister Cecilia lived there, so that made it easier on us because then we would have, room and board and family to support us. I only got a lumpectomy, so it was an outpatient procedure. I just went out that evening. I didn't even have to stay at the hospital.
She was diagnosed with stage 2 breast cancer. The toughest part, she says, was having to tell her 3 daughters.
You never think that it's going to happen to you, so I have a deep faith in God that everything's going to be okay. The doctor suggested that I do 4 rounds of chemo and as well as 33 shots of radiation.
However, the radiation machine was destroyed as a result of Typhoon Pongsonghua, so Bloss scheduled her treatment in Washington. She admits it was hard to leave her daughters behind for 3 months.
First thing that you think of is like, oh, am I not ever gonna see all the different milestones, right? I want to be around to see my girls grow up, get married, finish school, and all those I've seen.
Cancer-free for 17 years, Bloss says she's blessed to have a very good support system, a loving husband, amazing daughters, family and in-laws, co-workers, church family, Golden Girls, and Team Feds. Trust and faith in God and prayers from friends and family has been unwavering.
It's been such a blessing to be around to, see them, pass all those milestones and just enjoying them every day.
So what does awareness is power mean to Bloss? For her, it means to trust your doctor, but also read up on your type of cancer and discuss the best way for you to get the treatments for the cancer. Now 64, Bloss encourages women to get their yearly mammograms and follow-ups with the doctor because early detection really does save lives. And if you have any questions or need help, especially if you are newly diagnosed, there are so many organizations on island ready to get you through it.
Think Pink, Awareness is Power is brought to you by Island Cancer Center.
Coming up, we have Touch of Class, a virtual learning edition. Keep it here.
Your community calendar is brought to you by Taco Bell. Whether it's your first meal or your fourth meal, we've got you covered. Taco Bell, live Mas.
I know that declaring war on corruption is an invitation for hurtful attacks and half-truths against me and my service to the people. But I also know the people of Guam are stronger and smarter than these dishonest players whose misdeeds and acts of corruption have cost us millions in political payoffs this year alone. If we allow corruption to continue, we all lose. Let's put an end to corruption. Vote Joanne Brown for Senator. My name is Joanne Brown and I approve this message, paid for by the committee to elect Joanne M. Brown for Senator.
Hafide Guam, this is Telo Tairiwi. Fighting for you has been my honor, regardless of the politics and the challenges we faced. I've worked hard every day to improve GMH facilities, fund security cameras for public safety, support road repairs, and call out legislation and decisions that break the people's trust in government. The fight for these priorities isn't over. It's just begun. I'm Telo Tairiwi. I approve this message and humbly ask for your vote. Situs Masing, Maraming Salamat po. Thank you, Guam.
Hafide, I'm Carlotta Leon Guerrero, a Republican and a former senator. I've worked across the aisle from Robert Underwood when he was in Congress and when he was president of the University of Guam. Robert shares the same heart for the people of Guam and Micronesia as I do. We have collaborated on compact impact aid, and he has a deep understanding of the importance of Guam and this region to the rest of the world. He's experienced, wise, and ready to take on the challenges we face in Washington, D.C. I trust him. He is the trustworthy candidate for Congress, and that's why I'm ready for Robert Underwood.
I'm Robert Underwood, and I approve this message.
Here's this week's installment of Touch of Class Virtual Learning Edition.
All right, Hafide, and welcome to another edition of Touch of Class. Joining me today, we have Chamorro teacher for the 5th through 8th grade at Bishop Baumgartner, Dennis Daly. Dennis, Hafide, welcome to the show.
Hafide, Andy, buenas.
So a little touch of class here. We've been talking to teachers the past few weeks here about how they've had to kind of adjust their teaching plan during the pandemic. So you as a Chamorro teacher, how have you had to adjust, and your students as well?
I went from being able to demonstrate lessons I teach relating to Chamorro chants, dances, and art in person to now having to find material and videos to kind of relate that message or the lesson, the instruction. I used to, in the beginning of this distance learning, demonstrate it myself via the camera, but sometimes, there's not enough room in my house to move around to show the chant, or even the audio gets distorted. So pronunciation of words, especially teaching language online, dependent upon Wi-Fi on both ends from the recipient and myself being the instructor. It really varies as to the quality or content or the quality of the content that I'm teaching.
Yeah, and we're all learning this as we go, you teachers, the students as well. And one of the best ways to teach is that hands-on, that person-to-person contact, that face-to-face. So you've obviously challenged by not having that, but what are some of the other challenges that you've faced?
As far as teaching, teachers face many challenges, from developing citizenship in students, character, teaching morals and values, and maintaining order in class. But to ensure, effective learning and understanding of the material that we're teaching. But these challenges are not new to us. Overall, though, the fact that we must do these things via transmitting it to students, dependent upon the internet capabilities and distorted audio, and worst of all, competing for the attention of students via a computer is a constant strain. Really, it's taken it to whole new levels and whole new heights. The aforementioned challenges that we faced on a regular basis, as we would if we were in person. Now we have to kind of face these challenges, but online in a different platform. And in a normal classroom, I can control where phones get stored, and the usage of phones. But while cameras are off, I can only control the projection of my voice and hope students I'm addressing will respond timely without me calling home, calling parents.
We all know, and you especially, I'm sure, being a teacher, that kids are so resilient. They can adapt pretty easily. And how do you think the kids are adapting and adjusting to these challenges?
For the most part, students, especially the younger generation, are more tech savvy than myself, and they've been able to transition better than I have. But for the most part, they've expressed interest, a deep interest into returning to in-person classes because they miss interacting with each other and building camaraderie through group projects and classwork.
Yeah, kids are tough. I'm sure they'll bounce back next year. So before I let you go, what would you like to say to the parents and all the students out there on Guam as we all are trying to get through this together?
Overall, I want to ask the community to be patient with their children and empathetic towards teachers, education, faculty, and staff. This is a difficult time for everyone. The most important lesson I think this pandemic has shown us is the importance of unity. Unity between family members in their home, unity among people outside the home, and most importantly, the importance of community. The famous poet John Donne said it best, no man is an island, and the interpretation is that no one can go through life alone, much less a pandemic. I hope the community understands that the worst thing that can happen to us is not the pandemic, but the lack of love and kindness for one another. Be empathetic, and if I may, I'd like to close with this verse from the Bible, Matthew 22, chapter 22, verse 36 through 40. 36, teacher, which is the greatest commandment in the law? Says this disciple, and then Jesus replied, love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. And the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. All the law and the prophets hang on these two commandments. So BBMCS commits itself to advance the holistic education and Christian formation of its students, to nurture the love of God and neighbor in their lives. That's all I've got. Andy, thank you so much for the opportunity. And I'm blessed to kind of be able to relate some of the challenges with the community as well. So thank you again.
Well, regardless of what's happening in the world, I think teaching the Chamorro language here on Guam is one of the most important things for the kids. So Siduos Masi for doing that and sticking through this pandemic. Thank you very much.
Agradeci bidan mizu genogi KUAM Siduos Masi. Siduos abenendesi toru amzu.
After the break, we have your birthday shout-outs. Don't go away.
Action Pack asks you, are you better off today than you were 2 years ago? It's time to create positive change. Take action, Guam, and stand with the pack in this 2020 election. Join us as we support candidates who help businesses restore the more than 30,000 jobs already lost. Guam needs leaders who support all the people of Guam. Let your voice be heard and vote with the pack. You may be one vote, but together we have the power to make a difference. Visit actionpackguam.com to learn more.
It makes myself and it makes my team members very proud to work for an organization that has been on island for many years with its focus on reliability, dependability, and commitment to the communities that they operate in.
Matson's a great corporate citizen to the community.
We all benefit from any sort of environmental commitment we make. One of the ways that we do that is with our Adahi Utano program. There's action behind it, and so action breeds commitment.
With the Kaimana Hila coming to Guam, this brings a new age and modernization to the island.
It's exciting for me because it's a brand new ship and we can carry more freight into the islands. It just shows growth for Guam and Micronesia.
Matson would be nothing without its customers, and we hope to continue to serve you for decades to come.
And here's our birthday shout-outs from the Cold Stone Creamery Birthday Club.
The weekend's right around the corner, but we can't get started on your island day of rest until we say happy birthday to Michaela Oliva. Happy birthday to you, Michaela, from all of your friends. And you know what? That includes us here at KUAM too. We wish you and your family a very happy birthday. Devin Salas, happy birthday, my love, best friend, and amazing father to our son. May you be blessed today and always. We love you from your wife and son. And they also gave a special shout out on the link this morning. So Bev, happy birthday. And also Rosita Sablan Kunick, otherwise known as Reaping, wishing you a happy blessed birthday, sending virtual love, hugs, and kisses from the whole family, each and every one of them. Stay safe and stay safe. Hey, that's a blessing so nice, you gotta say it twice. Absolutely agree with that. Enjoy your very special day, and to the three of you, to Michaela, Bev, and Rosita, we wish each of you a happy birthday, and please stay healthy.
It's that time of the week where we announce the winner of a Cold Stone Creamery birthday cake.
This week's birthday club winner is Aski Jewel, who was born on October the 19th. I remember wishing Aski a happy birthday earlier this week. So Aski, it is our pleasure to wish you an extended happy birthday, and we wish you, please, stay safe, stay home, stay healthy, and stay happy because you have an extended birthday, and we'll be in contact with you to let you and your family know when it's safe to redeem your Cold Stone Creamery ice cream cake. Congratulations again from KUAM and Cold Stone Creamery, and have a extra happy birthday.
That's going to do it for us here on Prime Time. Thank you for watching.